Hi, everybody, and welcome to Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves, and I'm here with Jack Pine from High Redbird. Hey, Jack, how's it going?
Hey, Robin, I am doing well. What is we have Shamrock fireworks tonight?
Top of the evening to ya. How's that? Oh, my
Awesome.
goodness. So, how's your day been, your week?
I've been doing great. I'm
Well,
I'm always excited for our Friday night flock talks. They're a whole lot of fun. It's always fun to talk to you about these different topics. It's fun to talk to all of the people who tune in and watch every single week as well. So really, really excited for this. So yeah, guys, if you're watching, if you have any questions for us at any time, feel free to add them into the chat. If you just want to say hi, you know, Robin and I are both animal trainers, and saying hi, those comments are going to be one of the best forms of reinforcement you can offer. This is one of the things your animal is never going to be able to do for you. Normally, you would have to assess what they like the best. We'll tell you guys, we love comments. We love when you invite people. So feel free to leave comments.
hey, Candy. Candy follows directions. Look at that. She took your cue really quickly. And I'm going to reinforce that. Candy placed an order and it's going out maybe tomorrow. So look at that reinforcement schedule, huh? Hey, Julie, nice to see you or hear you or visit with you. Hello, Megan. And it's so exciting. These names are all so familiar. Hey, Jack. People are, coming back week after week. And so it's kind of exciting. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about, Jack, is that we are building a vocabulary. So we've started, we talk every week about different things. We kind of build on what we talked about the week before. And we're really building this basic vocabulary on how to do training. So I thought maybe tonight we could do a little bit of review just in case there's new people who missed the previous ones or didn't get a chance to watch them, because you can watch them, everybody, if you have a something you got to do on a Friday night besides hang out with Jack and I, which I can't imagine what that would be. But if you don't happen to catch us live, you can definitely catch us on the Leather Elves Facebook page or on High Redbird. There's a playlist, correct, Jack, of all the sessions?
Yeah, there is a playlist on the High Redbird YouTube page. So you could open it up and you could play every single session that we have done before. So if you guys are going on a road trip, if you need something to listen to while you're working out at the gym or anything like that, anytime where you're going to have a good chunk of time that you need to fill with wonderful educational content, there's all of those videos that are up there. If you guys are watching us directly on the Leather Elves Facebook page, if you guys like the Leather Elves on Facebook, every time we go live for one of these live streams, you'll get a notification on Facebook. So you're not going to miss out on any of those fun things as well. So you guys are definitely going to get the most bang for your buck right there. And I say the most bang for your buck, but I mean, we're doing the live stream sessions. It's always free for you guys to tune in for our Friday night Block Talk session. So we certainly hope you're enjoying those.
All right. So we do have a question that I want to address. Chris asked, "Do you train husbands?" Um, yes. It's a little bit more difficult sometimes. They're one of the tougher animals to train. But oh, Frank, no, Frank, don't even listen to that last comment. I'm just saying, no husband training happening. So yeah, Chris, we'll talk later. Absolutely. So so we're going to go over some of the terms we've been talking about. One of them I wanted to talk about is a cue. So the cue is one of the most basic pieces or tools that you're going to use. So Jack, how do you define a cue?
So, and we're not going to get into like the heavy, like the yawn worthy definitions that we first went over when we went over these things. But you guys need to understand these things. A cue is your way of letting an animal know that if they perform a particular behavior, reinforcement is available.
Well, that's pretty basic, okay? And I think sometimes the cue, we let our animals cue us. I know I've done that before, but a cue, so it's just lets them know kind of what you're asking for. And you've got to make sure that they know what you're asking for. So, and then the next one I wanted to talk about was a reinforcer. So Jack mentioned at the beginning of the session that you all tuning in and making comments is very reinforcing to us. And a reinforcer is something that you use when you want to let an animal know that they have in fact completed the behavior that you're looking for or the approximation that you're looking for. You want to do a little more formal, Jack, or are we, I mean, that, I think that's,
Yeah, I mean, well, and as I'm like, we're not going to go into heavy duty definitions. I'm like, apparently they're just ingrained into me. A reinforcer for a behavior is anything that is going to uh, increase the likelihood of that animal performing that behavior at a later time. So we don't need to get it. When we did our training definitions video, getting you guys started on the right track, we went into reinforcers in depth on what constitutes what type of reinforcer. For most trainers, I would think the most important part is it something that'll get your animal to do a behavior again? So you just need to look at your animal. You need to reflect and see what they like, what is going to get them to do that behavior again. But it's going to be different for every animal.
okay. And then the last one I wanted to just kind of review really quickly is what's a training or shaping plan?
So a training plan or a shaping plan, they're the same thing pretty much. It's basically your plan for getting to a particular behavior. Because obviously, if you have something that's a little involved for your animal to do, you can't just explain, here, I need you to do this, then go over there, then pick this up, then do this. Like, I mean, I want to train my parrot to make me coffee every single morning. Uh, but I can't just tell the bird that. I'm going to have to form those individual behaviors. The bird's going to have to learn how to, scoop out the coffee and add it to the coffee maker. They're going to have to change out the filters. So all of those little pieces of a behavior, those approximations, are all going to be what's added up to make the overall behavior. So your shaping plan, your training plan, is just how you're going to get through all of those different approximations.
So the coffee shaping plan, Chris, back to the topic we were talking about before, that's a really good one to work on with when training the husband. Just saying. Mine, I've got him all set, and he's working in his office right now, so hopefully he's not tuned in to the live stream. So, okay, so we've got our basics down. We've got those training terms down again. Tonight's topic, we are talking about station training and crate training. So we've broken it down. We've broken it down into some small approximations for us so that we can go through this, because any one of the things that we're talking about tonight could really potentially be a whole session. But we wanted to kind of put them together. We thought they went together well. We're going to start with station training. So by AZAC, American Association of Zookeepers, the definition of station training is an assigned position for an animal designated by the trainer, which brings up a really good point that I have talked about with some of the people I'm working with doing training. And one of the things is it's designated by the trainer. Your animal doesn't, we need to listen to our animals. They will tell us what they need for reinforcement and what their comfort level may be. But in some cases, we need to decide where that place is going to be. Do you agree, Jack?
I do. I think that's a wonderful way to put it. When you're designating where you want your animal to go, think about things like that. Think about what the animal is capable of. So obviously, I can do a station with a bird that is a hanging perch that I want the bird to fly to. And that'll work with a lot of birds. If I have a bird that does not fly well, that station isn't going to be as useful to me. So I may need something that that bird can walk over to. So those are things to keep in mind. Your station could be a flat piece. It could just be something that your animal knows. I'm supposed to go stand on this mat. It could be a perch. So you have to use what's going to work for your situation. But I wholeheartedly agree that it needs to be something that you designate and work to. If you're just going to reinforce your animal for going wherever they want, that then that raises the question: who's training who? The animal has trained you that I do what I want and you give me things. And I know we
Mhm.
certainly have some animals that they are all on board with that training plan. Um,
They've been taught by the best, so it definitely happens. But the nice thing about station training, Jack, is that I think you can use it as the basis of so many other behaviors, which is why we combined it with scale training and crate training, because I think it's, like I said, we've been building as we go through these sessions. And for people who are here every single week, they're taking those skills, hopefully, and putting them together so that they can create bigger behaviors, if you will, not necessarily more difficult, but just maybe more useful. You can take that station training and put it with scale training, put it with crate training, and it it gives you a place to focus, I think.
yeah,
So
you can add the or use station training to then shape other behaviors. One of my favorite things to do when you have a bird that is station trained, you can use a particular perch or a particular stand for their training sessions. So then your bird learns every time I go to that station, I am going to do a training session. And maybe you're going to ask me to target. Maybe you're going to ask me to open my wings, turn around. All of these are behaviors we've started talking to you guys about. And having that designated place for it, your bird's going to be tuned into that. It's just setting you up for success.
absolutely. Shelley says that her first goal with any new bird is station training. And it's a great behavior that it, again, we talked about how many things you can do with target training. You can do a ton of stuff with station training too. So it's a really good place to start. And I think it's for safety. Erin says she thinks we're getting there with Fred. Erin and I have been working with Fred, her macaw, and Erin is doing fabulous things with training, and so is Fred. So they're a really good. They have a great relationship and partnership going on there, and they have been able to do a lot of work. Jack, why are you laughing?
I am glad that that is Erin and her macaw because after your conversations with Chris on here, I assumed that was Erin's husband and that she was working on training her husband.
Well, I don't know if she's applying that or not, but she might be. But we're just not going to tell them that, Jack. That's the other live stream that we do. So, anyway, so Aaron, tell Greg it's okay. We're not. We know that you're not training him. So Melissa says she'd love to learn the Zorro because he attacks. So it is a great default when you've got an animal that is exhibiting what you would term aggression, what you have defined as aggression. If you're seeing that kind of behavior, station training can put a layer of safety in there. So that's Melissa. I think that's a really good way to use it. So, all right, we've talked about how you can use it. We've talked about the creating a position or a place that you want that bird to be or that animal to be, and it's designated by you as the trainer. So, Jack, if you were going to start station training, I know we have you and I have talked about this and we vary a little bit on how we would start. So if you were going to do station training, what would your first approximation be? What would your first step be?
So for me, one of the ways that I like to do it, if you have a bird that is trained to step up or step down, uh, technically though, the two of them should go together. If you have a bird that just steps up, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. You're just going to be covered in birds one day. No, when your bird knows how to step up and step down, And that can be onto your hand, onto your arm, onto a perch. It doesn't necessarily have to be touching you. You can get that behavior by when your animal steps down onto their designated perch, what you want to be their station, to just begin cueing station as you do that. And I think it's important to point out that I think part of how you're going to be successful with this is by being abundantly clear with your animal where their station is. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of small tabletop stands, but I know you can use things like a play gym for your bird, but I wouldn't just say if you end up on the play gym, that should count as your station because that's a whole lot of different places your bird can go. You need to be clear with them. That's going to set you up for success. So I have the bird. We step up. We come up to the perch. As they're stepping down, the cue would be station, and as they do that, I would reinforce that. And I know you like to do it a little differently.
I do. And Shelly brings up a good point here. The first step is identifying the reinforcers. Absolutely, Shelly. No matter what you're going to do with training, hopefully you have identified for that specific animal what those reinforcers are. So I'm sorry that I didn't say that. That kind of goes without saying. And it's one of those things that when you do it time after time after time, you just kind of get to that point where, all right, it's understood to me that you've got your reinforcers, but you're absolutely right. So Jack does a step up, and then we'll go to the step down in the cue station. For me, I feel like sometimes working with animals other than birds, other than parrots, you may not have that contact. So I like to approach it from a target training point of view. If I'm working with a tiger, I'm not going to have them step up or step down because that would just not work. Um, it would make great TV, but it wouldn't work. Okay, so um, what I suggest doing is having your bird target. He already knows what that target is. You've already worked through target training with him, so hopefully he's got that down. You're solid with that. But then if you move the target to whatever the station is, and you get him to the station, he's targeted, and then you expand the duration. So it's getting him there with a different, I guess, in protected contact, if you will. If it's a bird that you're not handling or an animal that you're not ever going to handle, or you don't want to at that point in time, whatever the case may be, it's a little bit more hands off approach. And so to target the animal to that tabletop stand or wherever it may be, and then you work from there.
Well, and so a couple of things I'd point out about that. One, if you do it that way, you have the ability to station train an animal inside of its enclosure. Which, especially if you have a new bird, if you have a bird that hasn't been worked with very much, some of our birds that we get in, if they come from rehoming situations, yeah, some of them I would treat a little bit like a tiger. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. On our training, our target training video, we had talked about target training as a wonderful way to build a relationship in a protected contact environment so that you can then learn to do more with your bird. So if you station train that way, that's going to give you one more thing that you can work on while still maintaining a little bit more distance, giving you and the bird just a little bit more breathing room.
Absolutely. And I think too, Bev mentioned that her bird Rascal is afraid of everything. And so she put a perch on the inside of the door, and now he won't even come to the door. So, okay, so this is a perfect example, Bev. Thank you for bringing it up, of ways that you could use, target training to get him a little closer, move him a little bit, move him around the cage, move him to that perch, and highly reinforce him for coming to that perch. Aaron will attest, I think that, Fred's the same. Fred was very similar. And I can tell you in working with Aaron over, I don't even know, I think it's 8 weeks, 8 sessions. Fred has definitely improved, and so has Aaron. I think we learn, and as we build that relationship with our birds, our skills get better. They definitely do. So now you've got your bird, you've got him, whether it's a step up and then a station cue, or whether it's a target to that point, and then you can still use station as a cue. Station for me is just a way to increase that duration. But I'm going to look for some things before I try to increase that duration. I'm not going to hold that bird there with, a target stick, or with he's not getting reinforced until he stays for 15 minutes. I've really got to assess his comfort level. So what are some of the things you'd be looking for, Jack? I mean, I think you would do the same thing, correct?
Right. I would say you definitely start with, you know, as your station training, building duration is going to be one of the most important things to do. So first, I would say you need to watch your bird's body language. Probably the clearest thing that your bird can do is if they are on a station and they climb down or they go to fly away. Um, that's a pretty clear indicator that, okay, hey, this isn't what I'm interested in. So you start picking smaller approximations that you can reinforce. You want to look and see if they're comfortable on a perch. One of the easiest ways to assess uh, comfort is if your bird performs a rouse. If they and we've all seen our birds do it when they lift their feathers up, they put them down. Because obviously, when they're doing all of those things, yeah, the little shake. It's always a ton of fun resetting where their feathers are, because if they were to do that in the wild, like that would take a few seconds for them to need to fly away if there was a predator or anything like that. So they have to be feeling pretty content in their environment to be willing to do that. So that's going to be a great way. If your animal is on their station and they're focused on you, that means they're not upset with what's going on around them, unless, of course, are they, aggressively lunging at you. But yeah, like a calm, comfortable animal that is, aware of where you are, is aware that you may be asking for things, but isn't startled, isn't stressed. Those are the things that I would be looking for to gradually increase duration of a station.
Right. I mean, I can tell you, when I was working with raptors, and I used to work with Sid Price, and we would do a raptor handling course. And for me, one of the most rewarding things was I used to work with Sid's auger buzzard. And an auger buzzard is a pretty good size hawk. And in fact, Sid's was perhaps one of the most intimidating birds I had ever worked with. And when I would have her on the glove, and she would rouse for me, it was like, I did it. She's comfortable with me. It was the coolest feeling. And when our birds rouse and they show us that they're comfortable, or they maintain a station for a little bit longer duration, it's very reinforcing as a trainer to see that. And to see that you've got a bird that is now comfortable being someplace that may be fairly new for them, or someplace that you're asking them to do different things. Maybe you use the station as the next step in syringe training, or the next step in nail trim training. Whatever, that next step may be, station training is a great way, to assess how comfortable they are, and how long you can kind of increase that time that they will stand there comfortably. So, do we have, I think we have a step up, step down video.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now, a great behavior to start off when it comes to training your bird is going to be teaching them to step up. It does give you the opportunity to easily move your bird around. And for most birds, it's going to be a pretty simple process. It just goes with the cue, come here, step up. And you can see it goes pretty easily. Now, one thing you do want to keep in mind when you teach a bird to step up, you are also going to want to teach them to step down. Good bird. Making sure that your bird knows how to get up and down from your hand is going to be important. Now, depending on what bird you're training, some of them are going to be more comfortable. Instead of having the hand presented from in front, they may want the hand presented from behind. Grayson here likes to go in front. And they may also want to step forward or step back to get off of your hand.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jack, on that one. A lot of birds are not comfortable, and it's a very awkward position for them to step down, to step forward. And I've seen Grayson do that. It reminded me, a lot of birds will step backwards sooner than they'll step forward and down. And so I think it's just a matter of again, assessing your bird's body language. And I know, I've talked to a number of people about, if you're asking a bird that's not comfortable to step down to you, that may be where you're kind of tripping over things, where you're getting stuck, because that bird may not be may not be comfortable with that.
So I work with Grayson all the time, and I mean, he's a big bird, so he's really easily able to step down off of my hand. For a lot of birds, you may also notice that they'll use their beak as another appendage. So rather than stepping down just with their foot, they're going to, basically go face forward to use their beak to move that step down. And that, I've seen a lot of birds do that. So it's just something to be aware of. But yeah, there's so many different ways that it can be done, depending on the comfort level of the bird, what the trainer prefers, and the amount of work that you're willing to put into it.
Lorraine had a question. Better to train in a quiet room to begin with fewer distractions, and then when training is more solid, can move to a room with distractions. It really depends on the bird, I think, Lorraine. And I think rule of thumb, yes, it's better the fewer distractions you've got when you first start training a behavior. There are some birds, though, that are laser focused on whatever that reinforcer is. And if you've done like a premier job trying to find that reinforcer, the animal may be more able to work with a greater number of distractions. But I think, yeah, to start out, you really do want to kind of limit the distractions. Again, they're birds, these are prey species. So the more distractions there are, they're going to be more on the lookout. And you've got to be sure that you've got their attention. I think sometimes that gets lost in translation. I was working with a friend, and she said, can you come and just take a look at this training session that we're doing with this eagle? It's a new eagle to the show. And what would can you just take a look at it? And so they were working on flying an eagle, an A to B flight. And it was, the trainers were very focused on what they were asking for. The bird knew what they were asking for, but they were giving the cue and the bird wasn't paying attention because it was a new stage for the bird. It was a new setting. The bird was like all about like, what's going on? Where am I? Kind of thing. And she never got the bird's attention before she gave the cue. So he wasn't going anywhere. And so I think we just have to be cognizant of that, so that's not adding to the distractions that we're already dealing with.
Right. And I would say in that situation, you can also make yourself a distraction. So with that bird in the show, as there's a lot of things going on, if they're not focused on their trainer, it's, oh, well, the trainer is talking too, but I'm not having to do anything for it. So that's just background noise, doesn't really matter. So yeah, I think Robin's right. I think it definitely depends on the individual bird. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say when you're working with a new bird with a new behavior, if you can control the amount of potential distractions, and what is going to count as a distraction is going to depend on your bird, but gradually add those in. I think that's going to be setting yourself up for the best success.
And we just had a question from Nancy too. Any suggestions when a bird gets nippy during a session? So I think at that point, it depends what, I'd have to see how it happened. What was the antecedent to that getting nippy during the session in order for me to give you a really clear answer on that, Nancy? And Jack, are you the same?
So this is part of why I like talking about training with Robin, because a lot of times we'll get questions on things and me and Robin are going to have more questions, because we want to make sure that you guys succeed. Yeah, I think we would need to be able to see that. So one thing we have recommended time and time again, if you guys have the ability to record your training sessions, if you ever hit a point where you are stumbling or you're just completely stuck, if you record your training sessions, you might be able to pick up on something. And it could be there's something in the room that's a little bit distracting. It could be that, the bird has hit a threshold of when it doesn't want to do training anymore. It could be that you are not providing reinforcement to the extent or at the speed that the animal is expecting. So by recording your training sessions, or if you have another person who lives in your house who is also working with that bird, if they can just watch your training sessions, they can give you some direct feedback on that as well. It's going to be one of the most useful things that you can do. And I'll tell you guys right now that every professional animal trainer has somebody else watch their training sessions, records their training sessions so other people can see them.
I don't think Erin will mind if I share this with all of you. Excuse me. Erin was working with Fred the other night, and this applies to Nancy's question. We were able to see that Fred got frustrated. It was frustrated, for lack of a better term. His body language was showing us that he was not really willing to continue with this, and he actually walked away from the training perch that Erin had him on. And it was in watching, so I can watch from my side of the computer, and in watching Erin train, it, from my vantage point, it was obvious from Fred's body language that he was kind of finished with that training session and starting to lunge a little bit. But from Erin's vantage point, it wasn't that obvious. The body language that Fred was putting out was not as obvious as it was from the angle that I was seeing her from. So the videotape, I have to say, is just such a great tool. It's one of the things that you don't leave home without it, kind of thing. It's really, really important to do that when you're working with your animals.
Well, and so right now you have a video camera on your phone. So like the fun thing for all of us right now, you have the ability to get those video sessions really easily. If your training friends live on the other side of the world, you can email those video clips really easily. Robin and I have been talking with Hilla, who is a wonderful animal trainer in Germany. So, there are so many things that are open to you right now. Take full advantage of them. Use every option that is available to you guys to ensure your success.
Okay, so Erin said yes, she videotaped the next session and it helped. Awesome. And yes, Nancy, Fred is a macaw. All right, so we've got step up, step down. We saw that video. We have a station training video too. So if we can show you guys that. There we go.
All right, once you have a great handle on step up and step down, station training is going to be very, very easy. Basically, it involves just getting your animal to go to a designated place. So in this case, I have a built PVC stand. So Grayson, step down. Awesome. Now the bird knows how to go to there.
All right.
Oh.
So in watching that video, Jack, you asked him to step down and he stepped up. Your cue for step off is step down.
Correct. And that is something we did talk about last week, that you can have different cues for different behaviors as long as they are consistent for you. So for me, when I train my bird, step up is always come to me. Step down is always go away from me. So yeah, it would be more accurately for us depicted as step off. But yes, I train it as step down when I want them to go away from me, even if that means they are moving up on a perch. So it's important to just use the cues that work for you. And if I had recorded that, if I had said, hey, I'm having difficulty with Grayson stepping down, I could have recorded that, sent it to Robin, and she'd be like, he's moving up, but you're asking for a step down. So that could be part of the confusion.
There we go. And I mean, and Grayson has obviously learned that step down means to step off,
Right.
or to, to go away. So, it's actually a really good example. But the station training itself, so once Grayson gets on the perch, then you want to build duration at that point, I would think, if you're going to do an outreach or an encounter or something. And Grayson needs to stay on the perch. That, how would you build that time there?
So when I start working with him on that, obviously we didn't just throw him into an animal show where there's 100 screaming kids in front of him, because that's one more thing to deal with. But there's a couple of things you can do. One, slowly building that duration. So I would go maybe 5 seconds before I would do something with him. And then I would go maybe 10 seconds. I also like to I'll take a step back and hold that there for 10 seconds before I then ask him for anything. And by doing that, by taking a step back, by increasing that duration, your animal will learn that, hey, if I'm on here, something will be asked of me eventually, and nothing bad's going to happen to me and those are the things that I think are important. But you can also set yourself up for success with where you're station training. So that PVC stand that Grayson is on, he can step down off of it, but I built it a little bit higher, so he'd have to work a little bit harder, which means if I see him fidgeting, if I see him thinking about moving down, I can catch him before he just runs away from the perch on its own. So by choosing an appropriate station location, you can set yourself up for success as well.
Absolutely. So the next step for me is that scale training. Scale training, people get, oh, it's scale training. I don't know. There's got to be a lot involved in that. Scale training is just simply station training to a perch or a platform that's on a scale. And there's a little bit of tweaking that has to happen, but it's really that same basic behavior, just in a different location.
Yeah, and I would say you can use the same platform or perch that you are using otherwise. You do have to factor in a scale, which can be potentially scary. If a platform is on a scale, there is a chance it could move a little, it could wobble a little if it hits like the edges of the scale. So you want to be aware of that, because that could be scary. If your scale, I use a large produce scale because I can use it for a variety of different birds. It can accommodate different sized birds very accurately in terms of weight. But it does have a display bar, which could be a little bit scary. So with scale training, you may just have to add a level of desensitization to the station training, even if it is the exact same station your bird is used to, but it's really not that difficult. And I would argue that no matter how difficult it is, scale training is going to be one of the most important behaviors that you can teach. What do you think, Robin?
I was just going to say that, because I think, people say, oh, I don't need to get a weight on my bird. He looks fine. I felt his keel. He's okay. Weights are one of the most telling things you can use when you're looking at a bird that might be sick, or even, a bird that has suddenly, stopped eating a little bit, is eating less, is eating more. If you're getting weights on a regular basis, you can see that and you can catch it before it turns into something that could be really horrible.
Yeah, I would say the amount of scale training you need, the frequency of weights is going to depend on your situation. Because I have some birds that I will get weights on once a week. But if I have older birds, if I have birds that are undergoing medical treatment, if I have birds that are on medications, or birds that just don't look right. And you're going to have that situation where you have a bird where it's like, I can't say that something is wrong with you, but you don't quite look right. Getting a weight can be a good indicator of that. And maybe you're going to want to get that weight every single day. Maybe you're going to want to get it twice a day. The more things that could potentially go wrong with your bird. So Robin and I don't like to talk about it because we're both getting older. But as you get older, there's more things that can go wrong on a daily basis. I think I just about threw my hip out the other day just getting out of bed. So, these are all things to take into account.
It is a challenge. And, I think too, it's not, you're not asking, for something completely out of their wheelhouse. If you're asking for something that you've got, going on a regular basis, you want to make sure you're doing it at the same time of day, so that, it's basically the same amount of intake of food, or, after they poop first thing in the morning, whenever you are able to do it. But I think that's really important, that it's the same time of day if you can. Yeah, Chris says she weighs right after the first poop in the morning, gets a good weight, and then you can go from there. We've talked about our birds' mask illness a lot. And so, they can't hide from you on the scale. I know this personally. It's just like us. The scale doesn't lie. And since COVID, my scale is just brutally honest. So, it's something that it's there. The facts are there. I will also tell you that veterinarians will love you. If you get a regular weight and you record that, and you come walking into the vet's office and you go, here's last month or the last 3 months worth of weights on this bird, they're going to be like, oh, you're the best owner ever. So,
yeah,
right?
So if your bird is trained how to go onto a scale without a problem, your vet will tell you, this is a wonderful bird. It does all of these things easily. They will think that you are magical. But if you can present a veterinarian with, here are my weights for my bird, once a week since you saw this bird last year, your vet will light up like it is Christmas morning, because your vet doesn't get to see your bird all the time.
Right.
So the more information you can provide them is going to help you both work together to provide ideal care for your animal. You're setting everyone up for success in that case, and your vet is going to love you for it.
Oh, absolutely. There'll be no break on the bill, but they will appreciate that. So, do we have the scale training video? There we go.
Now, scale training is going to be very, very easy, especially if your bird is already station trained to a particular perch. So all you're going to need is, you're going to need your scale, you're going to need your perch. We are going to use this as a stand. So that's going to go right there. And then, Grayson, step down. There you go. We can get a weight on that bird very, very easily.
So, I mean, that pretty much, we know that Grayson is fabulously trained, but that definitely shows you how easy it can be if it's a perch that the bird is accustomed to, used to stepping up on, used to stationing on. It's so easy to do, and so very important. So, Diane said that when she takes Cody in for his checkup, the vet asks for his book, which is great. And that includes weekly weigh-ins along with any changes to diet, et cetera, things like that. So Diane, kudos to you for doing that. We're going to do a session in a few weeks, I think, on record keeping. And I think, it's really important. And it sounds tedious, but it is so important to do. So, and then, having a scale and using it is so telling nutritionally, even Julie says. It's very true. Maybe you're trying to switch over a diet, you're trying to work on improving your bird's diet, and really it can be so helpful with that. Lorraine says her bird stepped down onto the scale without a perch, so she removes the perch to weigh at the vet office. This is great. I mean, if you've got a bird that's that comfortable, you've worked again, awesome job, Lorraine. Really, you should, and Chris too, they step straight up on the scale. This is great.
Well, so another thing I'll point out there, the more training that you are doing with your animal, if I'm training a bird to step up and step down in different places, we're stationing at different places, they are going to be so much more likely to, go to a particular place. So Grayson, for example, Grayson will step down directly on to that platform of the scale. But because he's gotten very used to the little tabletop stands, because I love them, so I just put them anywhere that I might possibly need them, because then I always have a great place to just drop off a bird. It's setting yourself up for success. If your bird doesn't know how to do that yet, it's just one more way that you can get there. So just like how Robin and I were talking about how Robin will station train using a target, I'll station train with a step up, step down. We're aiming for the same destination. It's just in how we're deciding to get there. So you are going to need to form your own shaping plan and figure out what behavior you're wanting and how you're going to get there.
Absolutely. It's just, as long as you're getting to that eventual end, using whatever plan you work out and works best in your setting. So we've talked about the scale training and how great your vet's going to appreciate that and how excited they're going to be. But how are we going to get that bird to the vet? We got to talk about crate training. So crate training is just kind of an extension of station training, which is why we included it here. And it's getting the animal to freely enter a crate, the travel carrier, whatever that is, appropriate for your bird and that particular species. And as long as you can get them to voluntarily do that, it's a win. So Jack, what kind of, go ahead.
So the only thing I want to say about that, because we're going to talk about how to build this voluntary behavior with your bird, which is super important. The only thing I want to point out is if your bird is in immediate medical need of medical attention, I'm not going to say, okay, here, please go into your crate. I'll wait for you to get into your crate. If my bird is actively bleeding. So use your best judgment in that situation. Obviously, providing for your bird may be a priority above how willingly they go into that crate. But building this behavior is so helpful. Even if you have an animal that is stressed, they are injured, they are going to be less scared of their travel crate. So it is still going to be useful.
Yeah, and the travel crate, I think the travel crate is something that you really need to practice and work with and have before you absolutely need it. So it shouldn't be, oh no, I've got to shove this bird into this brand new travel crate that I haven't taken out of the box yet to get to the vet because it's an emergency. Okay. In an emergency, you're going to do what you have to do. But hopefully
Right.
you've taken some time and you've, picked out a crate, made sure the crate works. Because they'll tell you at the store, oh yeah, that'll work for your macaw.
Oh,
Or, it's like, yeah, if I kind of roll them up in a ball and stick them in there, that would work.
yeah, I mean, I know I've seen it. Robin, have you ever seen anyone? They were told at the store that this plastic container or this soft-sided cat carrier was going to be an excellent travel carrier for their macaw. And part of you is just sitting back wondering, like, okay, are we taking bets how long it'll take this bird to get out of this enclosure? Because I am guessing it would be You're driving to the vet. It'll be after you get out of the driveway, but before you get to the vet's office. So, like, somewhere on the freeway is where your bird has erupted out of this travel carrier.
Yeah. I'm going with when you're trying to merge onto the freeway at rush hour. That's what I'm going with. That's, I have that square in the pool, just saying. So I think, really practicing this with your bird, practicing this behavior so that the crate is just another place to be. It's just, yep, oh, it's the crate. Okay, this is cool. Chris says here, especially in Florida with hurricane season, but she finds treats work really, really well to get them into the crate. Just like with dog treats work most of the time. I have other birds that see me with the carrier and they know they're going for a ride and they jump right in. Nope, that's not strange at all, Chris. That's absolute. I mean, a lot of people have that experience. But the key from, Jack and I were talking about crate training and how important it is. And I think one of the things you've got to think about when you're doing crate training is to keep it positive all the way through. So it's not first time you're working on crate training, the bird goes in, you get all excited. You're like, oh, he's in the crate. And as you're doing this, you hit the door and the door shuts and your bird is like, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. So the first, so important, that you make sure that door to the crate is, as long as it's not an emergency where you've got to go somewhere, the door to that crate is affixed so that it's not going to close while you're doing this training session.
Yeah, I would say if you can prop that door open with something. I usually build most of my travel carriers, so they're going to be all wire, so I can use quick links to secure them, so there's no chance of them closing. And the first times that I'm working with a bird, we're going to step into the crate. We're going to sit there for a second, and then we're going to come out of the crate. And then we'll gradually build the duration of how long you're in the crate. And once the bird is comfortable with that, then I will start, I'll undo that quick link and I will slowly close the door. I think one of the ways that I've seen people stress their bird out the most is when it's, okay, now close the door, and the door makes a noise when it hits the travel carrier and the bird is startled. So I will slowly close the door, and I've had birds that say, they'll lean forward with their beak and say, no, I'd rather that stay open. And, you can pay attention to that.
I mean, and if you can really work on things, Chris had mentioned that the treats really work well to get them in the crate. If you've got a crate that's got openings at the front and the back, if it's one of the dome, you can get them to come in. And once they're in, you can reinforce them from the back of the crate. So they've got to come all the way in and then they get a reinforcer. At that point in time, unless again, it's an emergency, you don't care if they turn right around and go back out. You're not working on duration when you first start this training. You're working on the fact that they were all the way inside that crate and then they left. And I mean, so you can do it as a game. It's definitely something that can be done as a game. It can be, you make a big deal out of it. They go in, maybe they close the door themselves. I've seen that behavior. I know Natural Encounters at their companion parrot owner workshops that they do. I've seen they do teach a behavior where a bird goes into a cage, pulls a string, and the door closes. So that bird is completely comfortable because after a few times pulling the string, they learn that the door is going to close. And so maybe you work that in. But crate training is something that you do absolutely based on your animal's response. They're in the driver's seat when it comes. I mean, they should always be. You should always pay attention to their body language, but especially with crate training where you're limiting so much of their mobility, you really want to make sure you're paying close attention.
And so Robin and I have talked about all of these training series just building on each other. So when we talked about target training, you can pair that with your crate. If your bird goes into their crate and then you have them target, back and forth along, most crates are going to have a single perch. If they target back and forth, then it's not scary crate training. Then it's just, I'm target training with my owner, which I know how to do. I have done so many times in so many different places. So this isn't new. This isn't scary. This is things I'm going to do to get reinforcement, which I like.
Yeah, I mean, if a bird has a really strong reinforcement history, then with targeting, then targeting is the way you're going to get them in that crate because they know, okay, this is what works. This is I get reinforcement on a regular basis for doing this. Their reinforcement history is solid and strong. And you've built that over this time doing target training, doing station training, building and building. And now crate training is just an extension of that. So, do we have a crate training video?
I think
We
so.
do.
Oh.
Yes.
Now, one of the most useful behaviors for your bird is going to be crate training. If you have a travel carrier for your bird, in this case, I have a custom-built wire carrier made just for Grayson. It's a good idea to get them used to going in and out of the travel carrier. You don't just want to use this behavior when you are going somewhere, but instead work it into your regular training program. Grayson, step up. Good bird. All right, Grayson. Step down. Good bird. Look at how easy that is.
Yeah, wonderfully easy. But it's true. I mean, I think obviously Grayson and Jack have a wonderful relationship. And so you can see that Grayson's like, yeah, I'm going to go in that crate. And he's got a high value reinforcer. I'm going in. This is a great thing.
Right. And so Grayson is crate trained to do things. We do regular presentations with him at work. So he knows every single time he goes into his crate, he gets to see people, which is a high value reinforcer for him on its own. But see, when he goes in that crate, as I am closing it, I'm not thinking, let's slam the door, let's startle him. It's like we're moving slowly, we're moving deliberately, and his body language is letting me know that he is abundantly comfortable in that situation. The fun thing I love about that video, you can tell that I recorded that one last, and you can just hear that I have that like mouthful of cockatoo dust from just working with that bird.
Oh yeah, the joys of being a bird trainer. It's so much fun. And that I gotta say, it's better than being a raptor train. A parrot trainer is better than being a raptor trainer because if you're a parrot trainer, you come home with pellets and fruits and berries and veggies and stuff in your pocket. If you're a raptor trainer, then you come home with rats and mice and quail and stuff. So yeah, it's a benefit. But so that crate is probably not what a lot of people are used to, Jack. I think a lot of
Right.
people are used to the
Now,
hard-sided.
one of the most useful behaviors for your bird is going to be
The See, Nick just wanted to hear you chat again, Jack. I don't know. But Lorraine says, with a hard-sided crate, should I start with the top half off or just door open and inside is dark? So I think whatever works, Lorraine. Your bird's going to tell you. If it's, oh no, that's like a cave and I'm not going in there. It's not where I want to be. Then you're going to take the top off. And once the bird's comfortable, then I would not put the top on with the bird in the crate because that's this thing is coming down from above. And as a prey species, that's not going to work. What I would suggest is maybe have it open or, whatever is comfortable for lack of a better term for your bird. The bird's body language is going to tell you, and I would absolutely have the door open. Dark inside, not really an issue. But I think if it's got a hole in if there are the little holes you can see through, the air holes in the back and stuff, that's where you could put the target. And then it's not completely foreign and dark. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah. I have had birds in those training situations where I've had birds that I thought this isn't going to go well, and they step right into the crate and everything is fine. I have had birds where they first have to step down onto the lip of the door. So
Mhm.
basically, their butts hanging out. I wouldn't be able to close the door even if I wanted to, but for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much in the crate. And I've had birds where we need to start with, okay, the crate is right there, and I'm going to have you step off of me, right in front of the crate, and you can realize that the crate isn't anything scary. So you're going to need to choose your approximations based on your individual bird. But yeah, I agree with Robin. I would be inclined to leave that top on and see what that animal's comfort level is going to be with that crate.
And if it's the kind of crate with the holes down the side, so a lot of them have those, you can see in the sides and you can see in the back. If your bird gets the head in, it may be that tiny approximation. It may be I leaned towards the carrier or the crate. It may be the bird, okay, the head goes in. So you're going to bridge when the head goes in. So that's going to mark that behavior. You're going to, okay, good job. And then you're going to give that reinforcement so that it's even for the littlest step towards being inside the crate, they're getting some reinforcement. They're getting, something favorable. And you can definitely, Julie, put a favorite toy, familiar towel, or a treat inside. It's about your bird being comfortable. It's not like they're going to live in this crate forever, but it is about them being comfortable. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Julie. So, all right. So we need to talk about perches and what we can do for perching for station training. I think there's a wide variety of things you can use. I know the PVC stands that Jack does, that you've done the videos, Jack, those are great for station training. They're portable. You can take them with you. And, we were talking about at the vets, some people use the perch on the scale, some people don't. If you can get a tear weight on your perch, when you take that, you take it to the vet with you, if that's a very comfortable place. What other kinds of things do you use for stations, Jack?
So I like to make my own because I'm cheap, and I can make quite a few of them out of some pretty basic materials. But you guys can find them in a wide variety of places. They can be made out of wood. They can, you can use things like cut pieces of shelf liner as just a designated station for your bird to go to. And then every time they see that, they'll think, I'm supposed to go to that. So then you can use that for your scale training. You can use that for your crate training. You can use that for a vet exam. But I do have to say that the PVC stands, I do like those the most, especially because, then it's like, no, I have a completely designated, like, I look like a legit animal trainer type thing. Because people will always see it like, what is that? And then when you interact with a bird on a small tabletop stand, it's almost like their mind is blown because, hey, that's plumbing material, but you turned it into this really useful tool for your bird.
Absolutely. And, I think I know Erin working with Fred. Erin's got, a tall training stand that she uses, that she targets Fred to. And it's, easy to use. It's not necessarily PVC, but it's easy for her to use. And it's a place that now she's going to, she works with Fred, and really that's his training spot. And it makes things so much clearer, I think, for the birds. I really, really do. And, with the PVC, easy to make yourself, there it is, easy to make, easy to clean. You can
Lightweight.
vet wrap, lightweight. And that is a big thing. I mean, I can tell you, and I'm sure you've experienced this, Jack, working in different places, when you've got to take a bird from point A to point B and then do an outreach or do a presentation. And you've got the big, cement 5-gallon bucket with the perch that sticks in it. This, a lot of times with raptors, people will have the big, heavy perch stands, and try moving one of those around while you're trying to balance a bird on your arm at the same time.
So a really nice thing about the PVC stands, if you have a travel carrier, the plastic-sided one, like just about any kind of travel carrier, you are going to have the ability, you can take like Velcro wraps, you could take some bird safe hardware. You can make it so that this perch is attachable to the side or the back of your stand, or to your crate, sorry. So whenever you go somewhere, not only are you bringing your crate, you're bringing a stand with you as well. There is a reason why I keep saying that I think everybody should know how to make basic things for their bird out of PVC, because it is so immensely useful. It is so cost effective, because PVC pipe is, cheap. It's easy to clean. All the things that we talk about with our birds that can sometimes be, frustrating, where it's like, oh, I got that for my bird and it was crazy expensive. I got that for my bird and they pooped all over it, and now I have to figure out how to clean it. It makes things easier for you, which means you're going to enjoy it more.
Absolutely. Julie says loading in and out of motels when you're traveling, lighter is better. Absolutely. I am a big fan of doing things like that on your own. And if the easier you can make it, the better. And by make it, I mean the easier you can make life, the better. So, okay. Anything else? We've got the PVC workshop. Nick, thank you. Nick prompts us to, and Julie's registering tonight. Awesome. So yeah, Nick prompts us to promote like this. So we've got the workshop coming up on March 20th, and we're going to talk about stands, how to make toys, and some general just stuff about why PVC is good. All PVC is safe. Well, Lorraine, to answer that question, I'm like, oh wait, there's different cores on PVC, and so I can tell you, Lorraine, from experience, years ago when I was making a lot of zoo toys for bigger animals, bigger than birds, like gorilla and bears, and things that are pretty tough. I got a great deal from this plumbing supply place on PVC, and I ordered like a truckload, and I was so excited, and it was like $1,000 cheaper than what I had been paying before. And yeah, there was a reason for that. It was foam core PVC, which pretty much with all my muscles, I could like squish if I really wanted to. So yeah, you don't want to go.
That foam core, it's also sometimes called cell core. I can just about snap that on my own. Now, typically, you're not going to see that in the smaller diameter PVC that you're going to use for parrot toys. Sorry. But Schedule 40 is what I usually recommend. It's a good durability of PVC. Obviously, if you have something that is a heavy-duty chewer, you may want to go up to something like Schedule 80, which is just going to be a thicker walled PVC. But one of the fun things we're going to be doing at this PVC workshop, so we're going to show you guys stands, a variety of different toys, puzzle feeders, foraging toys, but we're also going to be showing you how to build them, so how to use things like the PVC cutters, how to put them together, how to clean them, and most importantly, the thing that I'm excited about, how to scale them for different sized animals. Because if you have a budgie and you have a green-winged macaw, you may not be using the same size toy for both of those birds. So you want to know how to use the same technique, but change your parts, change the materials that go into them to make things that are appropriate for both of those animals. So we're going to be talking about all of those things. And I'm excited.
I am too. And I think, I just want to say though, the budgie probably thinks that he or she should be using the green wing macaw size toy. But, that's just that whole little bird syndrome that sometimes happens. And we all know that budgies are just so much wonderful personality. So yeah, sometimes you've got to scale, even though your guys may not think it's necessary. And I will tell you, I like to challenge animals when it comes to enrichment. So I don't always go with the smaller size. If it's, as long as it's safe, I'll go with a little bit bigger size for a smaller animal, just to kind of put that little challenge piece in there. So, all right. just in conclusion, station training. It is easy and you can do so much more with it. It's really one of those things that, you know, you got to keep it in the toolbox. You've got to have it with you because you can just I think of like Dr. Zeus, oh, the places you'll go. There's so much that you can do with that station training behavior. So we got a trivia question tonight, and I will tell you that the prize for this evening is a behavior consult with Jack and I. These, you think this is fun? A private consult is just the way to go. I'm just saying. So, the trivia question for tonight, Jack, do you want to read the trivia question?
Sure. Although we are going to point out, like we do every single week. So if you guys make sure you type it into the chat, it is time stamped. So Nick, our wonderful man behind the curtain, who does all of the technical aspects to make me and Robin look good when I don't know how we function in the modern world, to be honest. He is going to be able to assess who is the winner of this. So don't get mad at us if you don't win, because we didn't pick the winner. But our trivia question for tonight: what is the term for when a bird raises and shakes out their feathers? Now, this is typically seen as a sign of comfort or contentment.
Do 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 do. We even told little stories about this tonight.
And I mean, it's definitely one of those behaviors I think a lot of people need to learn first, because it's one of the first ways of knowing your animal is happy.
There you go. And again, I will say it's very reinforcing for me. Karen Anderson says rousing. Karen, you can use your consult for that puppy too. If you guys don't know, that's Karen's new puppy, and adorable factor like 1,000. Just saying. So
I want to consult on the pup.
You want to consult on the pup? All right. So Karen, we will get in touch with you and we will set that up. Congratulations. So, all right.
I think it's important to point out there, a lot of these things are useful for multiple different animals. So if you guys have people who have new animals that they're trying to learn about, they're trying to work with, a lot of these training sessions are going to be applicable to them as well. So definitely, think about that. But Robin, it looked like you had something you wanted to show off.
I did. So this is our new You Design It skewer kit. So Jack and I have been telling you guys for weeks now how versatile skewers are. And I know Jack just did a YouTube video on how to use skewers and how to maintain them. And so we came up with the You Design It skewer kit. It comes with everything you see there on the right-hand side. And you can refill it. You can hang food from it. I had not a long talk, but I had a chat today with Candy, who I know was on the live stream. And excuse me, we were talking about how versatile skewers can be. So if the QR code is there, if anybody's interested, these are brand new, and but they are available on the leatherelves.equid.com. So it's just, it's fun. And like it says under the cockatoo, or on top of the cockatoo there, get creative. We know you guys have great ideas. So we're just kind of letting people run with that creativity. So thank you for reminding me of that, Jack. And well, look at that, Jack.
So if you guys are interested in, Nick always brings it up because he seems to love them. Any of the t-shirts you sometimes see me wearing, you guys can check those out on the Hi Redbird Threadless store. So that's where that QR code on your screen right now will take you. It's a lot of fun things that help to support the YouTube channel and things like that. And I don't think we hit it tonight. Nick, I don't know if you can confirm that for me, but I don't think we hit our goal of 50 people at any given time. Is that correct?
Yes, fortunately not tonight.
Not
Okay.
tonight.
Well, we did issue it as
But
a
we got
challenge
closer,
to you guys. We did. So I think we're definitely pretty close to hitting that. So we have offered you guys, if we can hit 50 viewers at any given time during the live stream, we will be giving away one of the t-shirts from the High Redbird store as well. So invite your friends because we're going to have a whole lot of fun. We're going with leprechauns, apparently.
So that's the leprechaun dust is just flying. It's amazing. But I should probably put my leprechaun hat on. I want to thank you guys again. It's really it's our pleasure to have you join us. So next week we're going to talk about the consequences of COVID and how to move forward with your bird post COVID. So we're not saying run out there and everything's all done and over with, but we're going to talk about how things I'm sure have changed in a lot of your situations, a lot of your settings because of COVID. And how that's going to change back when things go back to normal. So, all right, everybody, you take care. Have a wonderful week, a top of the week to you. And we will see you later on. Thank you again and good night.